Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone, and thank you very much for tuning into PTV World. You're definitely watching a special transmission of World this morning on Sunday, which is 7th of April 2019. With me, I have the very amazing, the very talented Shiza Hashmi, and my name is obviously Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you today?
I'm absolutely great. How are you? And since you... Okay, please answer, then I shall move on.
What?
Well, since you mentioned, we're here on a Sunday, and trust me, we don't feel sad about being here because this is sort of a responsibility that we feel happy sort of pulling off. Because, ladies and gentlemen, today happens to be...
Yeah, today happens to be World Health Day, ladies and gentlemen. But, before we actually dig into this as well and why it is very necessary for us to pick up on this, there are a few things which I need to mention before that. And that is, I'm sorry that if you feel for a moment that I'm so full of myself, but that's not what the case is. I see a lot of people who are actually my age or Shiza's age as well. And I think that this is the time in life where you actually need to put in all the hard work.
Yeah.
May it be Sunday, may it be Saturday, may it be any other weekend. I think that for Allah, if He's actually given you an opportunity, all you need to do is grab it, put it in here, and do justice with that too as well.
That's
true. And I think, Shiza, I believe in this as well, and I think that we are definitely going to do that because you're one of those colleagues whom I've really backed with quite a lot of motivation and dedication because I've seen it in yourself as well. You study, then you do the shows, and you never miss out any day as well. So I think this is what you call dream team. But other than that, for all those people, I think that the ambitions need to be like that you work so hard that your signature becomes an autograph. So I think that's what you need to do.
And that is what you're doing as well, mashallah. And I'm so happy to start my day with this kind of spirit over here. But although I've had my coffee, but I don't feel that woken up because we're not used to working on Sundays anymore, but it's all good. So ladies and gentlemen, 7th of April happens to be World Health Day, and it is observed in all the member states of the United Nations, especially in other parts of the world as well. And Pakistan, being the member states, is observing this day because it is so close to our hearts, especially Shahzad, because when we look at, life and surviving and living, health is the first thing that we need to, care about. And today we are taking a holistic approach towards health, covering everything.
Exactly. And ladies and gentlemen, whenever we talk about World Health Day, it is definitely sponsored by World Health Organization as well. And it's not even sponsored by, I think that this is the umbrella where, the World Health Day lies under this umbrella as well. And health, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of times over here in Pakistan is neglected. We people are not even used to of going to the doctor after every 6 months or a year time as well. And eventually, God forbid, there's this quote which they say that a stitch in time saves 9 as well. I think it is very relevant to the field of health and the health providers as well. Because what happens over here is that we keep on delaying, may it be cough, may it be illness, may it be any kind of problem we have. We say, oh, it'll get better. I'll probably go to the doctor after 2 days, 3 days. And then, our mothers are doctors too as well.
Right.
Yeah, quite a lot of times it works. I'm sorry for all those mothers.
No,
please.
That's true.
But I think that I've really taken a scientific approach in life. I'm not saying that we actually need to neglect the spiritual side of it or whatever it may probably be beneficial for us. But then at the same time, I think people who've actually dedicated their life towards giving health or providing health services, we really need to be in conversation with them on a daily basis.
And you very rightly mentioned, the mothers are doctors as well, but Google is our doctor lately. Anything or everything we search on the internet. So this is a very, very funny story. It happened to me this winter. So, I usually catch cold very quickly, right? Every other day I'm having, morning allergies and whatnot. So I was sort of developing a viral thingy, and I kept, caught cold, and I continuously felt cold. And I discussed this with one of my friends. And she said, let's Google it. And we started Googling, catching cold immediately without even thinking this could be a flu or something. And we ended up at thyroid or probably hypothyroid. And we were like, oh my God, this is so bad. We're probably going to die and whatnot. And then the next day, my doctor told me it's just a flu. So please do not make Google or anyone or your friends your doctor, because we are here to basically share the basic facts that you need to know about your health and the people around you.
And Shiza, just because you mentioned your story, I think I'll mention my story as well. And it was oh dude, I cannot even express my words over here because I got depressed after that. So I had an illness 10 years ago, and so once I got back home, I had my blood reports with me, and it's said the name of a disease as well. So I was like, okay, because nobody's telling me what's going to happen to me, I should probably ask Google. So what I did was that I Googled the disease name, and the first result which came up was that unfortunately, but the cure is not available so far, and you're going to die in the next 46 days. Imagine what I would have gone through. That was the most horrible time of my life as well. And I thought to myself, though, okay, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die peacefully. I'm not going to let anybody know. But then I called my elder sister. I was like, I'm dying in 46 days. I need you people to be around me. So please do not do that with yourself. And
so
I
ladies
think,
and gentlemen,
yes.
this year, and since quite some years now, the theme that we're following for World Health Day is international health coverage for everyone, everywhere.
Yeah,
So
and
let's
it has,
dig in.
and this theme, ladies and gentlemen, has been there around for 6 or 7 years as well.
Almost a decade.
You know, to the extent where we can think, I don't think that it is eventually possible in the next millennium as well, or in the 4 or 5 next decades, because everybody's got their own agendas, their care providers, their health services providers as well, and there are people who are actually one way or the other. I mean, I do not want to sound controversial, but probably be the virus providers as well. You know, let's not talk about that. Let's be on the positive end. But let's see, you know, who the guests are over here. We've got some very amazing guests over here, ladies and gentlemen, and we have made sure that they're from every walk of life within the field of caregivers
Medicine,
as well.
yes.
So we'll talk to them. We'll ask them whether is it possible or not, because half of the global population does not really get health services as well,
yes,
which is
that's
very
true.
sad. And I think people definitely want to live. It's not that you know, they would want to die. So for people who are actually within the poverty segment or below that poverty line as well, so for them it becomes difficult whether to eat from the money they have or to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
So I think these are a few questions, whether is it possible or not, we'll be asking our guests over here. So on my left-hand side, ladies and gentlemen, we've been joined by somebody who's been a regular on the show as well. We love the way she works as well. She's actually made us know and made us all aware of, you know, all of these illnesses related to our brain.
Yeah.
Some people might have a kidney over here, but you know, we're just talking about the brain today. She's none other than Miss Anam Khan, and she's a consultant psychologist as well. Hello, assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Walaikum assalam, and thank you so much for such a lovely introduction.
Thank you
It's
very much.
always been a pleasure.
Thank you
being
very
here.
much
Thank
once
you.
again for
having you
joining
over
us.
here.
And alongside Miss Anam, ladies and gentlemen, on my left-hand side, we've been joined by somebody who's actually a consultant pediatric surgeon. He's an associate professor of pediatric surgery. He's none other than Dr. Farhan Ansari. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you very much for having me on this show.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And adding to this very apt panel, ladies and gentlemen, on my right-hand side, we've been joined by someone who happens to be a gynecologist. She's none other than Professor Dr. Nasira Tasneem. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Walaikum assalam. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you
It's
very
our
much.
pleasure
And
to
ladies
have
and
you, ma'am.
gentlemen, let me tell you, she is one of the most famous gynecologists
Yes.
over here in the Twin Cities.
That's absolutely true. And next to Dr. Saiba, we have someone, again, who happens to be a Bowen therapist. I have no idea what that is, but we will definitely ask
Yeah.
him. He happens to be Mr. Amir Taimur. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's wonderful to have you guys. You know, the energy is very positive as well. But we're going to get started with Dr. Farhan over here. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Farhan, you know, they say that, you know, health is very important. And whenever we pray for somebody, we say, you know, may you be healthy and wealthy.
Yeah.
So first comes, well, whatever first comes is health,
Health.
you know, whenever.
Okay.
What is health, actually?
Okay, let me tell you what is health. Health is, you see, certain things are tangible and certain things are not tangible.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, health is not something that I can place it on the table and everybody can see it and it occupies some space and has weight.
Yeah.
Health is a feeling of wellness and absence of disease. Now, this is something which you can feel, but you cannot weigh or place it on a piece of
Yeah.
table.
Right.
Okay. And to achieve that, there are several things that you need to do. For example, since I'm a pediatric surgeon and children are very close to my heart, a child's health actually starts from the time he is conceived in the mother's womb.
Right.
So you have to take care of the mother all through the 9 months till he is born, and he's born on time,
Yeah.
and thereafter take things from there.
But only if they let you take care of them, no?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think this is very important too as well. But for
Yes.
that, you know, okay, let us just move on to Ms. Sanam over here as well. So, you know, he's given us a very scientific and a non-scientific explanation of what health is, you know, and I think whenever we talk about health, mental health is very important these days.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the figures, the reports recently which I've read say that by 2020 in Pakistan on number 3, the worst killer would be depression.
Well, let me just correct. That's number
Sure.
two. That's going to be number
okay,
two.
so that's going to be number 2, unfortunately. So the report I read was probably a few weeks
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. Okay.
So now, you know, when we talk about health, how important it is for us to be mentally healthy first and then be physically healthy. Which one's more important?
All
Yeah,
right.
what
So,
comes first?
okay. So I think that's a bit difficult to say, but initially we used to hear is that physically those who are strong, they have more stronger minds. But now I think the notion that has been changed, that has been revised, that I believe that those who are more stronger over here, those who have strong minds, they are physically stronger too, because it's more about your resilience. It's more about how emotionally intelligent you are. It's more about how you take stress and how you react on it. So yes, of course, initially the definition was only about the physical health.
Right.
But now the mental health is again a very important aspect. But yes, of course, not just Pakistan, but also in other countries, it has been neglected so far. So now people have started to talk about mental health awareness and depression and a lot of other things. And I often say that depression is so in fashion these days that we like to say, I'm depressed.
We have
But the-
sort of, I'm sorry to say this, but we have romanticized depression.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So
I'm not lying.
whenever someone comes to me and says that I have depression, so I ask him, what is your definition of depression? How you take it, right? So the thing is that now being stronger over there, that if your mind is strong, if you're emotionally strong, so yes, you can totally cure your physical health or your physical issues.
Right,
So yeah, it's more about mental health these
Okay,
days.
and before we move on to Dr. Nasra over here, there's one more thing which I wanted to ask, since we're talking about mental health issues too as well on World Health Day. That is that there was a time and there was a family system, you know, where everybody used to stay together. You know, there was always a pat on the back, there were hugs, there were kisses.
Assurance.
You know, assurances, and there was support and whatnot. And now these days we have seen, and I think that, you know, this might be the right direction to it as well. Now nobody wants their kid to be touched by anybody else. I think this is fine. But, you know, we grew up in a system where there was a chapair, chappal, and, you know, there were a lot of things. And I think that they made us stronger too as well
So agree.
to encounter all of those problems in your daily life. And then, you know, you come up with solutions too as well. You know, that this is something which my grandfather would have done or my father would have done. I think that we have forgotten all of that.
Well, yes, I agree to that thing, that protecting your child from criticism, from something which is unpleasant for your child, that's pretty fine. But what we call psychologically, that is archetype. That is what you learn from your forefathers. That is what you learn from a social support network which you have around. So yes, that is a very important aspect. I believe that if you have fought with your cousins or if you have been through that drill, so yes, of course, you're going to manage things pretty better as compared to someone who is totally isolated. Or you can easily compare that those who are living abroad and now if they ever visit their family, so they are more uncomfortable. They don't know how to deal with them. Why? Because they have never been into it. So yeah, so that makes you more resilient. That makes you more stronger, and that teaches you how to deal with people around
And
you.
the only sister I'm very close to, I think I got beaten by her so many times, I cannot even tell you.
Okay, well that's, you know, a fun fact as well. But moving on to both of you. Now this is a question any one of you can answer, and I know this is going to be a little depressive again, and I should have said this by the end of the show, but I feel like I need to start with palliative care over here, because when we are talking about health, I mean, we're just looking at the part of our life that we're living. But when you, okay, unfortunately, you do sort of develop a disease that is probably eventually going to end your life. The end of your life basically needs to be good as well, right? So we do not have, except for 2 that I found on the internet, we do not have any palliative care facilities in Pakistan. Where do we need to start? Because that is something that includes in health as well.
Yeah, absolutely true. I think palliative care is not only a physical care, it's the emotional care as well. So, and unfortunately, yes, there are no, I would say, institutions, even in the oncology departments, we do not have where the palliative care is so much important. So, there's a desperate need of it, and we have to, this is an untouched subject. I think we have to look into it, and I would say, yes, that is a very important component of health, which we never look into. And from time to time, this is coming across, especially in our oncology patient, especially in the postnatal patients, where, you know, there's a lot of support which is required. And that is where we have to work more on now. Yeah.
And ma'am, since you've been a part of the public care providers, you know, and the health providers as well. So there's this one thing, since we are talking about World Health Day today, do you think that you're satisfied by the type of services we provide to all of those people within public hospitals, or do you think that there needs to be a few changes?
I would not lie over here, absolutely not.
Okay.
The reason being, the public hospital, they are too few in number, and the population has grown enormously. As a result of that, the burden on the public hospital, knowing the fact that the people are not affording, so knowing the fact they can't go to the private sector, and it's difficult to meet their, you know, daily requirements. So under that circumstances, we do need to have more of the public hospitals, which we do not have. So all the burden is on the tertiary care hospitals, which were supposed to provide the tertiary care coverage, the referral coverage. But now they are what they are doing. They are providing the basic services because you do not have the basic services everywhere. And those services which are already there, like the basic health facilities, they were made, I mean, with a very good intention. But the purpose was to make them round the clock services. So if the facility closes after 24 hours, where would the patient go? Exactly. She doesn't have much choice. You have created awareness among people. And awareness is that you should take antenatal care. You should have a birth. You should have a delivery in the hospital. So facility-based delivery, you have created awareness, but then you do not have the model where you can you can ensure that the awareness which was created can come to a reality.
Thank you so much for saying that, ma'am. And definitely, I do need to come back to antenatal care in detail. But moving on to Mr. Amir Taimur over here. First of all, let's start with what really a Bowen therapist is. I feel like I understand this is non-surgical treatment of whatever.
Yes, it is. It is a non-surgical, non-medicinal solution to the problems that humans have. And it has grown to work on animals as well. And there's a branch of Bowen that works on animals, horses especially.
All right.
And we work basically through the fascia. And the fascia is what runs right under our skin, not just there, not just at subcutaneous level, but there is it goes deeper down, connects with the organs, connects with the muscles. It goes everywhere into the body. And one of the largest organs that we have. So because we work through the fascia, and this is a holistic method, which I'll explain in a while. Because this is because we work on the fascia, and because the fascia goes everywhere in the body, we have a bigger license, a bigger visa, so to speak, to go and fix other issues. So it is not, it is therapy, yes, but it is not the very conventional kind of therapy where you just work on the muscles and the joints and bones and whatnot. It is a very broad-based, broadband therapy and works on systems as well. And it looks at the human body holistically, it works holistically as well, because we cannot compartmentalize the human body. We cannot isolate the psychology of a person away from the physiology. I mean, with if a person has depression or a person has stress or anxiety, it is eventually going to tear down their physical defenses. They're not going to be able to. It's going to affect the immune system as well. So it is a more logical way of looking at the human body, I think, and it gets amazing results. And without the medicine, it's because we, as humans, as living organisms, we have tremendous amount of strength, tremendous amount of healing capacity that we have, and it is in there, and all that is needed is to trigger it off. And what we do is basically we put in a set of instructions into the body and enable the body to heal itself. And that's where it is, and it is taking over the therapy world by storm. Really, it is.
I'm pretty sure it is. It's such a great intervention, absolutely. So we're looking at a brighter future over here. Fingers crossed. But now this question, we're coming to facts over here now. Anyone of you can answer this, but I feel like Ms. Sanam, you are very appropriate for this. So over the past few years, the probability of dying with diabetes or cardiovascular diseases has dropped by 5 to 10%, but the number still is staggeringly high, and about 90% of those people, okay, not 90, but in, 80 to 90% of those people belong to countries, probably third world or underdeveloped or developing countries. Pakistan happens to be one of them, and we do not see the numbers going down for Pakistan. Is that ever going to happen soon, and what do we need to do for that?
Well, I hope it does, but the thing is that since I've been working with type 1 diabetics and talking about them particularly, there are a lot of reasons when we look into it. But number one, it's about acceptance. Like we were having that discussion previously, that people, they don't accept that they have some disease. So that is one part. And then when it comes to treatment, they cannot afford it. Like prices of medicines and particularly of insulin, that is just going high day by day. And like initially it used to be like 600 per month, but now it's like if you get a pack of insulin, that is around 3,000, and then you need sugar strips for that, and then you need regular follow-ups and consultations and whatnot. So yes, we need to provide some support to our people. We need to look into this at how we can prevent it. Prevention is one part, but when someone is being diagnosed, we have to provide them certain sort of help. So yes, there is one part that is acceptance, where the psychologists, they have to work, and then there's another part where we need to have some sort of policies where we can provide medicines for those, or consultation to those who cannot afford it. So yes, we need to work on a lot of grounds, I think.
Right,
So.
most
And if we can control that prices of medicine, that is again a big problem.
For
Alright,
common
and-
men especially.
And which is why, you know, I'll move on to Dr. Farhan over here. Now, Dr. Farhan, you've worked in different parts of the world. You've been to Australia, you've been to England, you've been to Saudi, you've been to a lot of different countries.
Singapore.
So now what you can witness over here is, as Ms. Annam has very rightly mentioned, that the prices are going high. You know, there are people who are actually living below the poverty line, who are not even making 10,000 rupees a month. It becomes very difficult. What are the different practices in the world which we can learn from and then apply them over here so that we can be better care providers?
Okay, let me start off by saying something. You know, before I came here, I worked in England, Ireland, Dubai, Singapore, Australia, and Saudi Arabia. And my last appointment was, I was in a leadership appointment. I was chief of surgery of a medical city.
Wow.
So I have enough, I can't say enough, but I have a reasonable amount of experience of healthcare management also.
Right.
One thing I'd like to start off with, Pakistan has a huge potential, and there are so many talented people in Pakistan. Now, it just needs to, what we need is to galvanize our energies and resources and to solve the basic problem. Pakistan is a country which has such a dichotomy that in one part of Pakistan, the people can't even get clean water. And on the other side, for example, in the heart of Islamabad, somebody could be performing some, you know, very, very sophisticated surgery, which, and we have state-of-the-art intensive care units or neonatal intensive care units for birth defects and things like that. So what I noticed in Australia is that instead of making 25 state-of-the-art centers, what they did was they made very few state-of-the-art healthcare facilities, but they improved their transportation system because Australia is a huge continent. And what they did was they improved the safe transportation from location A to location B, whether it is by helicopter, by ambulances, or by small aeroplanes. And a lot of people, they were transported to a place where they could be taken care of. Now, another thing that has happened in Pakistan to an exponential level is communication through internet. And a lot of people can actually benefit from telemedicine who are living in remote parts of Pakistan. And somebody who is an experienced doctor, cardiologist, consultant surgeon, or whatever, or maybe a little bit like me, who can provide the services through the internet, through telemedicine, and identify persons who could be airlifted or whatever way he could be transported to a higher center. Now, another thing is that we have to get into the mindset of people that, you see, everything cannot be free. Even in those countries which are far richer than Pakistan, they have also gone off this formula of everything being free. Yes, we can subsidize it. That can be done. In the last 10, 15 years, you must have seen that a lot of private hospitals have mushroomed. Now, this is something that we have to accept. They are here to stay, and they are actually helping the government. So I think all governments should also help them a little bit, because they are taking a burden off their shoulders. And if they are facilitated,
Yes, absolutely, very rightly said. So I feel like we're always short on time, but so much to discuss, so very quickly getting into, again, the antenatal care that we were talking about. Ma'am, one of the reports from World Health Organization says that in 2015, 303,000 women died of, issues lacking actually pre and postnatal care. And I lie not, 99% of them were belonging to, again, third world countries. First of all, we absolutely know the type of care that we have over here for mothers, even before they give birth. How do we need to start making that better? And the results, the numbers that we already know are absolutely shocking. Are they going down any soon?
I think absolutely they're shocking, and it's always a shame when we listen to it. We have been doing so much. Every government is very, very progressive. But I think we are not looking, we're not tapping the resources which we already have. Yes, transportation is very, very important, but a facility which is there, the primary health facility, why could we make it a very fruitful facility? Now, recently they have started working more on it, and that has started paying back. There are so many doctors there, there are midwives there. So why can't we make that midwife, who is a resident of that area, so close to people? Why can't she be made use of? And antenatal care, she is to provide that antenatal care. She can provide the postnatal care. Your lady health worker program, that was an excellent program that again has to be rejuvenated, and I think government is already taking use of that. But we have to keep their job focused more towards the antenatal, more towards the postnatal care, and but then we have made so many uses of them. As a result, this care is started suffering. Then there are so many doctors. You can post them in the primary health center, and they can provide, and then you can create liaisons between the primary health and the higher level facilities. So if you triage the things, I think there will be total revolution. We do not need very hi-fi resources. We just have to tap the resources wherever, whatever they are. And as Dr. rightly said, that private sector, yes, they are adding to, they are contributing. Don't stop them, encourage them, but make sure that they do provide the quality care and they do not overcharge. So something has to be done.
Okay, but now, you know, I think I have a question which is for everybody, and everybody needs to answer that as well. And what happens is that when the health services, when they're expensive, and you know, when there are people who cannot afford them, so then there are people who are very innovative, so they come up with cheaper solutions. And those cheaper solutions, I think, have costed a lot of lives, other than, you know, for them, if they were able to pay money to all those people who could have actually saved those lives. What do you think that the government needs to do for all of those people who came up with these ideas, ingenious ideas, where they're actually out on the roads and they claim that we can treat people and whatnot? I'm very sorry, you know, there's nothing against the therapy as well, but there have been these centers where they say, you know, we can get rid of diabetes, cancer, whatnot, and all of these things. So first of all, in your defense, what would you say? Because, you know, while we were in conversation, you said, you know, 7 sessions, you can be free of diabetes. Because otherwise, if they would have been, because there has been so much research, if it would have been possible, I think that, you know, people who would have claimed for that would have been legends by now.
Yes, well, I can't claim that I'm a legend yet. But but I have worked on diabetes, and I've had considerable amount of success with type 1 or type A, however way you want to. But I do not claim to fix cancer, and it's
not about you, but you know, I'm talking about all those people with cheaper solutions, you know.
Yes, of course. But then there have been quacks throughout history. There have been people who've sold snake oil and have made it. And those are the kind of people that you find in just about every other sphere of life. I mean, you've got people who are posing to be one thing and they're not, and they're actually another. So, but yes, of course, there are solutions out there. And I am otherwise pretty much a man of faith, as opposed to somebody who is hardcore, strictly a man of science. And because, and this is something that I've always believed in, because when God says that for every problem, He has created a solution. So what I glean from that is that there's a solution out there somewhere. It's just that I don't know where it might be. It may be with a psychiatrist, it may be with a, you know, one doctor or another, but a solution is out there. It's up to me to go and find where that solution may be. And there are solutions to problems that mainstream medicine may not have. Let's say diabetes or blood pressure or something that, over which they treat palliatively. And these are things that are, it is otherwise well known that they are being fixed with therapy, because they could just be something as simple as a musculoskeletal issue. I mean, for the sake of an argument, it's very common to have a pelvic misalignment or a malalignment, which could result in a leg length discrepancy. Now, when it results in a leg length discrepancy, one of the legs is slightly longer than the other, so which means that one leg is going to be a more load-bearing leg than the other. And eventually, over time, it's going to start causing a pain in the knee. Now, this is a simple solution, could be done in maybe a couple of sessions. Fix, you know, just balance the body, and the knee pain gets fixed overnight, basically. And but when you go to, let's say, an ex-person or a doctor and whatnot, and you know, they because it's just too early to go into surgery, and then there's you know, nothing that they find anything wrong with, and all they do is give you painkillers, and they get you going.
Mr. Meetamoor, you know what? I'll sort of rephrase the question because I feel like you do know about this. I mean, you yourself said that there's sort of a loophole or a gap between the general public and the doctors themselves, which is being filled by the quacks. How do normal people like us realize who is the right person to go to?
Well, that's where ignorance plays a huge part in, it's across cultures, it's across time, it's across space. And this is where people have, because somebody is ignorant of where the solution lies, this is where ignorance has to be fought. I mean, I feel that people have to be educated. I mean, it has to be done at school level.
Absolutely. Awareness, right?
Yeah. Exactly, awareness programs. I mean, doctors, eminent doctors could visit the schools on, let's say, a monthly basis, or let's say a half-yearly basis, and teach people, small children, college children, university children, and so on and so forth, and raise awareness regarding their health. But I believe that a few habits, very simple habits could avert a lot of problem, like educating people about personal hygiene, educating people about the workplace ergonomics, educating people about the value of good hydration. And I'm a firm believer that the health of any individual actually begins with the mother. So the healthier the mother, the healthier the child. So there are certain deficiencies that could happen if there were deficiencies with the mother while she was expecting. Those deficiencies can carry over into the life, and there's a phenomenon called the birthing trauma.
Exactly, that's exactly correct as well. But ladies and gentlemen, we definitely have to move out towards a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when you guys will come back, there are two questions which I have for Ms. Anam and Dr. Saab over here. So Ms. Anam, we are actually going to ask her whether, how true is that if you believe, if you have your own belief system, that you can actually get healthier from whatever solutions you have. Can we do that? And then from Dr. Saab, what I want to ask is, sorry that I'm putting doctors under the spot as well, how many times does it really happen that where a guy with a problem goes into the clinic, and the surgeon, the first thing he's going to say is, you'll need a surgery? Well, we'll talk about that. Let's go for a short break.
Welcome back to the special transmission of World This Morning on a Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. We are celebrating and observing World Health Day. And just before we went out on short break, Mr. Amir Taimur over here said that we need awareness on, school level, university and college level as well, which reminded me of a very sort of a funny thing, where every child, among us says that we really don't need to study science in our schools because when we grow up, we want to be an artist or whatever. But that is why you need awareness in basic science, because then if you don't study that, when you grow up to believe that autism is developed by vaccines or that the earth is flat. That is why you need basic science.
Yeah, thank you very much for putting it out as well. But before we headed out towards the break, there was this one thing, and I think that it has worked for me, that if you believe in one thing, it will work for you. But do you think that psychologists are going to back this theory up or not? I think this is something to be asked from a psychologist. So, Ms. Anam, what about that?
Oh, well, yeah, it certainly works, but sometimes it does not.
Yeah.
So I have to say this, that there are few things which you can actually cure with the help of your belief and with your faith and with spiritualism and a lot of other things. But yes, there are certain things like if you have severe depression or if you have some suicidal ideation, so in that case, belief is going to work. But for that time period, you're depressed or you're suicidal. Why? Because your belief isn't strong.
Right.
So for that time period, for that kick, you're going to need some medicine, some psychiatric medicine, and alongside we can work with therapy and a lot of other things. So yes, I would like to give it a reference over here. I was just watching some random video, and that was highlighting the role of hope in our lives.
Okay.
And that is pretty much important. Well, there is a certain rule internationally. They say that if you have a patient, you have to go to him and you have to disclose whatever disease he or she is having, which I partially disagree to. Why? Because if you're going to disclose that that person is going to have something like some cancer sort of a thing. So that is going to be a big shock for him or her. So are we trained enough to break the news? Are we trained enough to tell, to how to convey, and then to provide that support to him or her? So I think that we should not. Why? Because that might take away that hope from him, that he was just hanging in there, that I'm going to survive and I'm going to live, and that a verbal of telling him that you have this thing might take away that hope.
That's
so
true.
yes, hope and belief is very important when it comes to not just mental health issues, but physical health too.
Right,
Very
and
nice.
you know, according to the reports again of the World Health Organization in 2016, 800,000 people died of suicide, and that was mostly in
Yes.
European countries, and the number is, you know, expected
Increasing.
to increase, of
Yes,
course,
it is.
even in countries like ours as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
We really hope not, but you know, this is something we sort of out of control
Over
of
here,
us,
I
right?
think that
Sorry,
the
just one thing.
cases
Can I
of
say
such
that?
sort does not get reported.
Right,
Yeah.
sorry, it's not just your words, it's about your body language too, that how you're going to react. Even like you said, that if someone is autistic, so our reactions are so different, and we don't want our child to be friends with them,
Yeah,
or we stay away from them. So I think it's about time that we learn how to deal with people who are different.
Exactly.
So that's pretty important.
I think that that's a great thing that you said over here. But sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to put the doctors under the spot too as well, because one way or the other, not everybody is an angel, you know. So there are people with different agendas. They can be doctors who just want to be rich. They can be doctors who just want to operate because of the fact that they have something over here, and they feel great while they operate too. And there are these problems as well, because I was going through you know, top 10 professions where people can actually be mentally disturbed or be psychologically different. On number 3, it was actually surgeons. On number 2, it was hosts and TV anchors. So I'm sorry for that too as well. So we need to be honest. But Dr. Saab, what I've witnessed over here in Pakistan, and it is a very common practice, you know, there's this person who goes with an ailment to a doctor, and the first thing is actually to a surgeon. The first thing he gets to hear is, oh, you'll need a surgery. You know, without even looking at the reports, without even looking at the statistics, why do you think that this practice is prevailing? I think this is why people take a step back and they go to other solutions.
And there are so many stories just recently, even in Pakistan, I don't want to name the hospitals or the places over here, where you know, went for a surgery for the right leg, but your left leg was operated for nothing, for ignorance, of course.
That's pretty interesting.
It is.
Okay, so it's a pretty loaded question, so I'll answer this one by
Sure.
one. Okay. Now, the first thing that I was taught while I was training to be a surgeon is that a good surgeon knows when not to operate,
Okay.
rather than when to operate. Okay. So, people are very astute, they're very intelligent, and if you try to say something which is not true, they will immediately come to know. And people who are knife happy or trigger happy or whatever, they get discovered.
Right.
So always speak the truth. Now, in my practice, I operate on children. So the first thing is the truth. And the other thing is you have to exude confidence and honesty, and it really transpires through your personality to the parents.
Okay.
So it's not just parents, it's even the grandparents.
Wow.
So, and it is a huge responsibility. And I'm not saying out of self-praise or anything like that. That's the last thing that I would endeavor to do. I always tell them that this does not need an operation, or it needs a certain period of observation, and then we can decide upon it if it really, really needs an operation.
Okay.
And that's how you win the confidence of the parents.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, rather than, because you see, people are very intelligent, they're very clever,
Yeah.
and they've done their homework, and many people go to more than one surgeons to get their opinions.
Right.
Okay.
The educated ones, Dr. Saab.
Yeah.
But you know, I really have to be honest over
Yeah.
here. People belonging to the downtrodden segments of the society,
Yes.
they come to cities to, of course, you know, for the checkup, but they would believe anything the doctor tells them because they have spent a lot, their earnings and their savings, everything.
Yes,
for
I
the doctor.
agree with you. That happens a lot in this country, but that is greed-driven.
It is.
Okay. When for greed-driven, I'm sorry, the only way is that you have to know who you're answerable to.
Yeah.
That is true.
Okay,
That is true.
so one more thing, and since you know at the start, at the beginning of the show, you said that you know you were in Saudi Arabia and you were the chief surgeon over there as
Yeah.
well, and there were 150 surgeons working under you.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that within the hospitals or within the administration block, there is a system what keeps, or probably they keep a check on each and every of the surgeon,
Yes.
that whether the surgeries they've done were required or not, or did you do it while you were there?
I was there. You see, part of my, I was chief of surgery of King Fahd Medical City.
Okay.
And it was part of my responsibility to give operating privileges to the surgeons working under me. So I had to assess them what one person could do and what he could not do, and I had to set limits.
Okay.
What he could do between, you see, there were categories of category 1 up to category 4 surgeries, and I would actually operate with them and determine what this guy was capable of.
Okay.
But you see, freedom in Pakistan gets a new meaning. He's free to do anything.
Yeah.
For example, I see loads of people operating on little small children, and they don't even have 1 hour of training to operate on children.
Right.
So being in Pakistan, I have to actually compete with them, and the only way I can solve this problem is creating awareness that everybody should not be able to do everything. There should be a
Right.
legislation.
Exactly.
You
Right,
have
that
to
is
be
so true.
trained to do a certain
That is so true.
Exactly.
Thank you for saying that. But you know, the Vision 2030 says that, again, by 2030, AIDS, tuberculosis, malaria, and even hepatitis is going to end from this planet. But in 2016 alone, 1 million deaths were only because of AIDS.
Exactly.
So what is the practical realization of this, ma'am? And I'm asking you this because you happen to deal with the public sector over here.
And even talking about that, I'm sorry, ma'am, that I'll have to add over here that Pakistan is actually amongst the only 2 countries where polio is still there.
Yeah.
As well. So I think we've got a lot to do within the health service providers as well. So please, any last messages, whatever you want to share, go ahead.
I think it's not always the service provider who's always all the time to be blamed. They're putting a lot of effort already. It's the government who have to create legislation.
They're listening to
like
us.
like a very important intervention which was done by the current government was that they fix the responsibilities. Every LHV who is sitting at home can't label herself as a doctor.
Okay.
Same goes for the quacks, as you were talking about. It's not the people. People are very innocent. How much would you educate them? They have a faith. If they're not satisfied with the doctor, they do not have an access to the doctor. What would they do? They would go to the quack, who is the most easily available person. So it's the government who have to set in the limits for everyone. For example, in our setup, the general surgeons who has never seen a hysterectomy, never seen how to do a removal of the uterus, he would do it. And there's so many people who are coming up with a fistula, a continuous leakage of the urine. So a woman's life has gone miserable just because that person did not know his limit. So the bodies are there, PMDC is there, the CPSP is there, there are bodies, the government itself can take a lot of steps. When this kind of a thing happens, the only intervention, if they do, set the limit wherever and look into, and the media can be a very good, rather than media saying a gynecologist has killed a woman. A gynecologist will never kill a woman because the woman came when she was fitting, the woman came when she was bleeding, and the gynecologist put in all her effort in saving that woman. So she can't be blamed. Blame the time, blame the people who did not bring her in time. So that is the thing which is required by all levels. And regarding this, the putting the knife, I think cesarean section, the maximum inquiry tertiary care hospitals they are facing is why this patient did not have a cesarean, why did you kept on going for the normal delivery, one thing. Secondly, we do have the audits of cesarean section every day, every 24 hours.
Okay.
So each and every cesarean section we have to audit why was it done. So if that practice goes on at every possible level, I think the knife can be put away.
That is absolutely
Amir
true.
Taimur,
Yes, may I add to the earlier discussion? Actually, I just want to make a point that if you hire a workman who has only one tool in his toolbox, which is, let's say for the sake of an argument, a hammer, so every problem to him is going to look like a nail. So when you go to a surgeon who has one tool in his toolbox, essentially, it is a knife. So everything is going to look like something that needs to get chopped down. So I think that a surgeon should not necessarily be approached forthwith. I mean, you have to go to a physician first and let them refer you to a surgeon or suggest a solution that this is something that is beyond the reach of medicine, and then you should go and see a surgeon. And surgeons are, like the doctor said, are in that sense, they're trigger happy. And they just want to wield the knife. And they are doing unnecessary surgeries, which I feel are things that could be fixed very easily. Or they could be fixed with like maybe 1 session, 2 sessions. Problems like plantar fasciitis, where the foot hurts each time you walk. Or carpal tunnel syndrome. This is something that women get, working women who use a lot of their wrist, and there's a pain in the arm. And these are some very everyday problems that could, that could be fixed very easily.
Okay.
And yet, I've had clients who have gone to a surgeon, have had surgeries unnecessarily for carpal tunnel syndrome, had their radial nerves chopped off, and then they're paralyzed or they're disabled for life. And but having had said that, it is definitely necessary, and it's not to underplay surgery.
Yeah.
But there has to be a point where one person has to consider where,
Exactly.
when to approach it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But thank you very much for being with us. It was wonderful to have you on such an important day as well, where we definitely wanted to highlight the importance of health. And I'm very sorry that we actually had to school a few surgeons today as well. We're not talking about our apt guests, but there are these practices, ladies and gentlemen, because I've gone through a backbone surgery myself. Yeah. And before I got through that surgery, I think I went to quite a lot of quacks too as well, who made me lie down and pull my legs and whatnot. So I've learned it the hard way as well. There are times when it is necessary for you to get your surgery done, and then there are times when you might have managed it without the surgery. There's no problem, and I think that Pakistan has actually developed a lot of such capabilities within our country, and we are very resourceful in probably minimal invasive surgeries now as well. And I think this is about time that we even rely on our doctors, surgeons, psychologists and gynecologists as well, and therapists as well.
Right, that's absolutely true. So ladies and gentlemen, international health coverage for everyone, everywhere. That is what we were looking at. If there's anything you need to write to us, write on Facebook page with the name of?
Well, this morning.
On Twitter?
Well, this morning without a G.
Daily Motion on YouTube?
Well, this morning, well, this morning.
And the repeat you can catch at?
Well, we're certainly not sure about the repeat because it's a special transmission, but we'll definitely update it on our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Perfect.
So please make sure to follow us over there. Till the next time, look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.